This is Pat Lee again from Ryu, here to bust myth number 2. You have to be a good writer to journal. I love this myth. I think for every 10 times I say something about journaling, I figure I get 7 responses that say, yeah, but I'm not a writer. It's like those people who say, I'm no good at math, but they use math in nearly every moment of their day without even realizing it. No, not gonna lie, I'm one of those math deniers, just so you know. I can be really, really cool and witty about math when I'm on my own. I'll figure things out. I'm average. I have average capacity in it, like enough to keep me going. Um, and that happens when no one is looking. But the minute someone says, do the math and do it in front of me, or like I kind of freeze and shut down, and my brain just goes, ah. Now, there's a reason for that. And I'm a work in progress where that's concerned. So I try to apply the same kindness and understanding to people who say, hey, I'm not a writer. So that's why I put this as myth number 2. The truth is, nobody said you must write in order to journal. I'm going to say that again. Nobody said you must write in order to journal. And guess what? Even if you can tolerate writing, no one said you had to be good at it, right? Yes, writing is the most common way to journal. It is the most studied and the most used form of journaling. If you go to a therapy or coaching session and they say, you should start a journal, they most likely mean you should write things down. Writing is incredibly beneficial for the brain. That's why there's lots of evidence about the benefits of doing expressive writing. And there's studies that use MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, in measuring learning and brain activity to tell us that writing words and letters on paper actually helps us with idea composition, it helps us with expression, and it helps us with our fine motor skills. So all of this talks about, the great benefits that you get from writing things down, but none of these studies said that you had to put good things on the paper or that you should be doing this good or perfectly, whatever good means for you in this instance. In fact, when it comes to journaling, when it comes to expressive writing, the encouragement is actually for you to put things as expressively and as raw as possible. How are you feeling right now? Not how are you feeling after you censure yourself and polish up your grammar and erase all those spelling mistakes and stuff like that. But as good as writing is, and as wonderful as it is, and as common as it is, what if your writing or literacy skills are low? What if you experience a physical or cognitive impairment that affects your ability to write, right? What if you just hate writing, right? I love writing, but I know that that's not a cup of tea for a lot of people. What if you just hate writing, right? What if you do not have a pen and paper, right? What if those things are not accessible for you? What if it is not something that you have on hand at the moment? What if all that you know and all that you have is maybe your phone or a voice recorder or a paintbrush or some chalk or a cardboard box or an old magazine? My point is, there are many ways for us to make space to process and reflect on our thoughts, emotions, and feelings. And that is what journaling is. So when we're taking the time to make space to process and reflect on our thoughts, emotions, and feelings, we need to recognize that that doesn't always have to include using a pen or paper or even writing, whether that's writing in a notebook or even writing on a computer. Because journaling is a practice of making space to proceed, making space to process based on certain cues. The way that you can journal, the way that you can go through that process of journaling, or I should say the ways, are nearly limitless, right? There are lots of different ways that you can encounter that. And so I often find that when I come across people who echo this myth, I'm not a good writer, so I can't journal, or I'm afraid of taking on journaling, or I've never thought about trying it because I'm not much of a writer. These are often people that are getting hung up on the method of journaling. So writing with a paper on a pen, writing with the paper on a pen, writing with the paper on a pen. That one is a good one. Writing with pen on a paper or pencil or whatever is your chosen writing implement is a method. Whereas the process of reflecting on your thoughts, emotions, and feelings is the practice, right? So getting hung up on a method versus looking at the practice. And the practice only requires that you record and you come back to reflect on what you record. So technically, right, any tool or method that you can use to record your thoughts, feelings, or emotions and that allow you to come back and access what you've already recorded and reflect on it is helping you engage in that process and practice of journaling. And the bottom line is that there are lots of ways to do that. One of the fun things about my job is that I get to teach and explore these different ways with people. And so even though I love writing, and a lot of my own journaling comes from writing, I always love the different methods that I can engage with that help me practice journaling in these really interesting ways that keep it fresh and never boring. So the other thing that I want to just point out as we kind of bust this myth wide open is that if something is to work really well for mental wellness and well-being, it has to be accessible for everyone. And when we promote journaling as a writer's thing, we leave people out. And I know it's hard to get out of the mindset that journaling equals writing all the time, right? That's something that's kind of stuck with us. In fact, it's hard to even find an image that references something that makes people think about journaling without it actually being a book and a pen, right? So, I'm part of perpetuating that myth in a sense because I use imagery that uses the book and a pen, but it's really not the only way to journal. So the interesting thing that we want to teach, learn, and practice is that we can separate what is common, which is writing, from what is available, which means that we have many other ways of accessing journaling as a practice and a process that are beyond the whole idea or the notion of just engaging with pen and paper. So let's call that myth busted. And I hope to see you soon in one of our journaling workshops.